Greetings, fellow carbon-based bipeds. I am Scott Rose, and you are watching Explosions and Stuff. Today, I'll be reviewing the 1995 film Superfights, starring Brandon Gaines, Keith Vitale, and Kelly Gallant. An overview of the film? After appearing on the news for rescuing a woman from three muggers, Superfights megafan Jack Cody is recruited to be a superfighter himself. However, the martial arts competition isn't all it seems on the surface. Soon, Jack is plunged into the world of steroids, drugs, extortion, and death matches. Will he succumb to temptation, or will Jack Cody be the all-American hero he's portrayed as in the ring? The pros of this movie? First of all, the music, the soundtrack in this movie was just amazing. It fit the movie perfectly. It fit the time period the movie took place in. It took the theme of the movie. It was just fantastic. Every time the music was used, it fit that scene and that moment perfectly. And it was great. Also, either Brandon Gaines, who played Jack Cody, was a bad actor, or he was just intentionally over the top with his acting. I don't know which one it was, but whichever it was fantastic and I loved it. It was very entertaining and he did a great job. This movie was clearly inspired by the classic kung fu movies from like the late 70s and the 80s. It was beautiful. I mean, just the way people were acting, the motions, the mannerisms, clearly inspired by these kung fu movies. And I loved them. When I first watched it, I didn't realize it was an homage to these movies. I was like, what the hell is he doing? That's stupid. He's acting like an idiot. And then I realized, oh, it's like these kung fu movies from like the late 70s and the early 80s. It's like that. And when I realized it for that, I loved every bit of those moments. It was great. The fight choreography in this movie was just beautiful. They had very talented fighters performing the scenes. They were choreographed amazingly. They were shot beautifully. Everything about the fights in this movie was beautiful and amazing and wonderful and great. I loved them. The cons of this movie? Well, first of all, the character grandfather was clearly not played by an old man. It was clearly somebody in their late 20s or early 30s wearing a white wig with bad fake facial hair, a bad fake goatee, and like something in their eyebrows to make their hair look gray. First of all, it was clear because the person had absolutely no wrinkles in their skin whatsoever, and the eyebrows were darker, they had the grayish color, but the wig and the bad fake facial hair were just solid white. Clearly fake. It was just horrible, and it really took me out of the movie. Also, this movie had a lot of bad acting. Every one of the main characters in this movie was a martial artist before they were an actor. So yeah, they're not going to be the best and most talented actors in the world. You're not going to get the deepest and most Oscar-worthy performances from them. I get it. I understand. No harm done. But the acting was still really pretty bad. Really, the only reason the movie felt as good as it did was because it was like the acting was just laughably bad, and everyone was on like the same level of badness, so it worked. Also, the fight scenes, most of them, the whole Super Fights competition and Super Fight circuit, it was presented more like professional wrestling than it was like martial arts. This is supposed to be a martial arts competition with top-grade martial artists. But every one of them is wearing like wrestling tights and has a wrestling nickname. And it has a costume based on their nickname. And they're fighting in this wrestling ring. Prime example, Rob Van Dam makes an appearance as the character of Mercenary in this movie. Very short appearance. Only really appears in one scene where he fights a character named Rasputin. Anyway, Mercenary's costume consists of camouflage BDU pants, the kind that soldiers would wear, a camouflage tank top, and a camouflage ball cap. clearly supposed to be an actual mercenary in this movie. Like, he's supposed to dress and act like a mercenary. You know, you had a character who was named Enforcer, you had a character named Budokai. Every character in this movie had like some weird wrestling type nickname and had wrestling costumes and wrestling tights. Budokai had his face painted up. It didn't feel like martial arts, it felt like professional wrestling. And in a martial arts movie, that really takes away from it. I get that it was inspired by the WWF steroid scandal from the early 90s, and that whole scandal kind of inspired the story and the plot of this movie. I get that. But it's still supposed to be martial arts, not professional wrestling. And to piggyback on that with the story, really the story in this movie was shallow. There wasn't really much to the story. You know, you could have put just about any story in there and it would have worked just as well. The story in this movie was pretty inconsequential. The best action scene in this movie? It would have to be the final fight of the movie between Jack Cody and Robert Sawyer, who was the primary antagonist of the film. And this fight was just fantastic. It was quite possibly the longest fight in the movie, but at no time did it feel repetitive. It always felt completely new and unique, and it was just beautifully done, well choreographed, well shot, great use of the environment. It was a beautiful, beautiful fight scene, and I absolutely loved it. I don't want to say too much about it, because it is the final fight of the movie, and I don't really want to spoil it for anybody. My overall thoughts on the movie? This movie felt like a love letter to classic kung fu movies, but made to appeal to an American audience. I give it 2 thumbs up. This is a movie I can watch over and over again, and it will still entertain me. No, it doesn't have the deepest story, but honestly, the story's just there to fill the gaps between the fight scenes. That's the only purpose the story serves in this movie. I can see people who are a fan of classic kung fu movies or fans of just professional wrestling in general really enjoying this movie. However, it's cheesy a lot of the times, so if that bothers you, you may not enjoy this movie. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to like it and subscribe to my channel for new action movie reviews posted every week. Also, if you have any recommendations for movies you would like me to review in the future, please leave them in the comments below. Thank you and have a nice day.